Riding a bicycle is something that most children here in Kentucky learn to do, and it's fun. But bike accidents also lead to thousands of visits to the emergency room, or worse. A Kentucky mother and her young son are leading an effort at the state capitol this week to make riding a bike safer and save you from their nightmare. The story is new at 6 tonight.
April 21st, 2010, around 5:30 p.m. in Prospect, Kentucky, in front of our old house out front.
Heather Floyd's sons often rode their bikes together.
His brother did a trick or stopped suddenly, and TJ, I guess, didn't realize and ran into the back of him and flipped over the handlebars and hit his head on the road, the concrete.
Neither boy had a bike helmet on.
So he's not bleeding?
No.
Any bruising? Any, just looks like he's asleep?
Yes.
She wasn't sure TJ would live. He'd suffered a life-threatening brain injury.
He was in what they call the dying process. So, it was bad.
5 years and 7 surgeries later.
Ooh, what are these words?
Iron ball and magnet.
Nice job! You came up with those words quick.
Today, 13-year-old TJ is still coping with brain damage from that accident. He just had surgery on both legs. His bones are growing, but not the muscles, so doctors had to stretch them. Casts are on both legs. They don't stop TJ from getting around.
My thought process is for him to be able to dress on his own, which he can, bathe on his own, which he's getting there. Really, it's just getting out of the tub. It's a safety issue for him. Getting in's okay. Putting his shoes and braces on, we're getting there on the braces.
TJ's mom still thinks about what if he'd worn a bike helmet.
As a parent, you don't really get rid of that feeling that you somehow hold responsibility for that, or if I had just known. And you know, no matter how many people tell you don't do that, don't beat yourself up, you still do it.
Dr. John Drowse, pediatric surgeon at Kentucky Children's Hospital, says a bike helmet can minimize brain damage.
Takes that shock of the trauma from the bike helmet and prevents that force being transmitted to the child's head and brain.
In Kentucky, bicycle accidents are the 4th leading cause of traumatic brain injuries for children 5 to 14 years. It's estimated bicycle helmets are 85 to 88% effective in minimizing head and brain injuries.
Broken bones heal. The brain is not as resilient as a broken bone, so it's much more serious to have a brain injury. Even a mild concussion can have long-lasting effects on a child because their brain is developing.
If passed by the legislature, TJ's bill would require children under 12 years old in Kentucky to wear a bike helmet when riding on public roadways and public bicycle paths. Heather hopes it saves another family from dealing with a child's brain injury.
I don't know that a helmet would have stopped the injury because of the impact. They thought he was hit by a car. It was that severe just from riding the bike. I do believe that it would have lessened the severity of it.
This Thursday, TJ and his mother will be in Frankfort for a news conference with Representative Joni Jenkins out of Louisville to talk about the bike helmet bill. If it's made law, a parent could be fined $25 for their child not wearing a bike helmet. First-time offenders would be able to buy a helmet, and by showing proof of that, the charge would be dismissed and no fine issued.